I came home from a client dinner, opened my banking app out of habit, and froze. $360,000.
Gone.
Every cent I had saved over 8 years. Every sleepless night. Every freelance contract. Every second job. Every bonus stacked and counted for one goal. My first house. I blinked. Refreshed the screen.
Still gone.
I called the bank, heart in my throat. The representative calmly explained that the withdrawal was made legally by someone with joint access. Someone I had once, years ago, added for emergency only. My parents. I didn't call right away. I didn't scream. I drove straight to their house, silent the whole way there. My father was in the backyard, grilling. My mother was arranging roses on the table like it was any other evening. My sister sat with her legs crossed, scrolling on her phone, wearing a designer sweater I knew I hadn't seen before. "I need to talk to you," I said, barely managing to keep my voice level. My father smiled. "Ah, you saw it?" I blinked. He clapped a hand on my shoulder. "Thanks for your naivety, Maya. Your money has now secured your sister's bright future. She's going to London, the full program. Travel, tuition, everything." I felt like I couldn't breathe. "You stole from me." My mother rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. "Stole? Maya, please. You've been hoarding that money for years. For what? A little house in the suburbs? A girl like you would have wasted it anyway." And my sister? She didn't even look up. Just smirked, like she'd already won. I couldn't hold back anymore. I laughed. Once.
Loudly.
A strange, hollow laugh that startled all three of them. Because the money they took wasn't mine. Not really. Not anymore. You see, I'm not just some naive little saver they thought I was. They never asked how I doubled that original $360,000. They never asked how I paid off my debts early, or how I took 2 years off work and somehow came back richer. Because they never cared. They only saw the visible account, the decoy I kept for appearances. They never even imagined there might be more. That I might be more. So as they stood there, smug and stupid and sure that they'd ruined me, I smiled wider. Because the account they drained? It was bait. They took the trap. And now they taught me exactly what I needed to know. I turned to leave. My father called after me. "You're being childish, Maya. This is family." I stopped at the door, looked over my shoulder.
No.
This was business. You made that clear. And I walked out. My name is Maya. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because the money they stole was a test. And now, the daughter they built to serve them was about to burn their future to the ground. I wasn't raised to be loved. I was raised to be useful. I was the firstborn, the mature one, the dependable daughter, the built-in fixer. They didn't celebrate me. They utilized me. While my younger sister, Alina, was praised for her looks, charm, and potential, I was handed responsibilities. At 10, I was babysitting her. At 13, I was balancing grocery budgets. At 16, I was forging my own permission slips because my parents were too busy to sign anything that wasn't about Alina. They taught me early that attention was currency, and I didn't have enough to buy any. But what I could earn was usefulness. So I became the best at it. I worked part-time jobs through college, kept my grades perfect, cooked dinner when mom was too tired, covered for dad when his business failed quietly behind closed doors. And still they barely looked at me. Alina, meanwhile, coasted through life on a golden float. Failed classes? She's just figuring herself out. Expensive hobbies? She deserves to try things. Impulsive trips, new boyfriends, big mistakes? They were always learning experiences. But I was held to a different standard. I was the fallback plan, the dependable one, the piggy bank in human form. When I got my first full-time job, I thought maybe they'd be proud. Instead, they asked for help with the mortgage. I gave it. When I bought a used car for cash, they borrowed it for 6 months. When I opened a savings account, they casually asked to be added, just in case anything ever happened. I didn't hesitate, because I didn't think they'd take it. I thought maybe this time they'd prove me wrong. They didn't. That $360,000 wasn't a number to me. It was 8 years of skipped vacations, packed lunches, quiet birthdays, and 3 a.m. freelance deadlines. It was my first house. My only plan. They knew all that. And they still took it. With a smile. Because they never saw me as someone who deserved. Just someone who provided. But here's what they didn't see coming. That usefulness they weaponized? It made me dangerous. Because I didn't just save. I studied. I learned. I planned. And over the years, while I handed them the visible crumbs, I was building my own feast behind closed doors. I funneled freelance income into diversified investments. I put money in a trust. I bought digital assets under an alias. I partnered quietly in 2 early-stage startups. I registered an LLC abroad. Everything they thought I was saving was already doubled and buried in places they could never touch. The account they drained? It wasn't my future. It was my trap. Because if you want to know who someone really is, give them access to your peace and see what they do with it.
They chose theft.
They chose betrayal. So now I was free of obligation, free of guilt, free to become someone they couldn't control and couldn't predict. People say I'm quiet, polite, easy to overlook. They're right, and that's exactly why I win. Because what my parents thought was my entire savings was nothing more than a decoy. The $360,000 they drained? It was technically mine, but it wasn't my wealth. It was my bait. Let me explain. Years ago, when I started making decent money, I opened 2 accounts. One joint savings account I told my parents about, and one private one they never knew existed. Guess which one they always asked about? I'd intentionally funnel a portion of my income into the joint account. Enough to look impressive. Enough to prove I was doing well. I let them brag about it to family. Maya's so responsible. She's saved over 6 figures already. Meanwhile, I moved my real income, my consulting contracts, my stock payouts, my crypto flips, into separate channels. By the time I was 29, I had built over $1.1 million across diversified accounts, trust funds, and business equity. But my parents? They were watching the wrong wallet. They always were. The funny part? They thought they were clever, withdrawing the money just before I closed on a house. They thought they beat me to the punch. It's too late for her to pull it back now. I overheard my mother say the day after the theft. It's done. She'll forgive us eventually. They really thought I was that predictable. But they didn't know the house deal was fake. They didn't know I had forged the timeline emails, fake agent contacts, even a fake property listing. I made it believable because I wanted them to think they were stealing something precious. They were always going to take it. I just made sure they did it when I was ready. Because what they stole was recoverable. It was tracked, isolated, and insured. Yes, insured. I had moved those funds through a business pipeline the month before. Filed it as capital movement. When I filed the theft report and provided the evidence, names, access logs, IP locations, timestamps, the bank's fraud division flagged it within 48 hours. They'll get a nice little investigation out of it. And I'll get my claim reimbursed. Quietly, without them ever realizing. But I won't tell them that. Let them think they robbed me blind. Let them think they won. Because I wasn't after the money. I was after truth. And they gave it to me in the clearest language they speak, greed. They confirmed everything I'd spent a decade trying not to believe. That I was never the daughter they protected. I was the daughter they exploited. So now the script flips. They have no idea what's already moving behind the scenes. But the car? That was in my name. The house? Joint investment deed that I can now legally pull out of. Their golden daughter's tuition? Backed by a guarantor.
Me.
And I've just sent the notice to dissolve that agreement. They took from the wrong daughter. But they did it with such confidence. I almost want to thank them. Because in robbing me, they revealed everything.
And now?
I'm done playing pawn. I'm about to become the architect of their unraveling. You don't survive in a family like mine by being emotional. You survive by being strategic. And I had been planning this for years. The moment I realized I was just their backup plan, not their daughter, was the moment I started thinking like a banker, not a child. So no, I wasn't shocked when they stole the $360,000.
I wanted them to.
Because now, I had everything I needed. Intent,
Opportunity.
evidence, and best of all, silence. I didn't yell when I found out. Didn't fight. Didn't try to reason. Because the moment you raise your voice, they dismiss you as hysterical. But silence? Silence terrifies selfish people. It makes them wonder what you know, what you're doing, what you're planning. And I was planning everything. I started with the utilities. For years, I'd been quietly paying their electricity, phone, and internet bills through auto-draft. No thanks, no acknowledgement, just quiet dependence. I canceled it all in one evening. The next morning, I got a text from my dad. Hey, do you know what's going on with the power company? The bill didn't process this month. I didn't reply. That weekend, I removed myself from the cosign line of credit I'd helped them open. They had no idea I could do that without their signature, but I could.
Because I set it up that way.
One letter, one fax, one form.
Done.
Their credit dropped by 72 points in 2 days. Then I cashed out of the family investment they'd forgotten. I still had a 49% claim to a silent stake in the house my father built himself, but funded with my money 5 years ago. I sent a formal withdrawal notice through my attorney. They'd either have to buy me out or sell. And I already knew they couldn't afford to do either. Meanwhile, my sister? Still parading around Europe like she was untouchable. Until she wasn't. Because the final string I cut was the guarantor form for her university program. She was accepted into a prestigious international business school. What no one knew was that the school required a financial backer from the home country, someone legally responsible if tuition lapsed. That person was me. I had done it years ago, quietly, to help her get in. A favor she never even acknowledged. So I revoked it. One email, one scan.
Done.
The school's financial office emailed her the next day. I can only imagine the panic. The money they stole? It was already spent. But their security blanket?
Me?
I was gone. And all the systems they used to lean on were starting to collapse. Quietly, slowly, relentlessly. No explosions. No screaming matches. Just doors closing. I knew they'd come knocking eventually. But this time, I wouldn't be home. Because they thought I was some fragile little savings account with a soft voice and a good heart. They didn't realize I was watching, waiting, setting the table for a reckoning. I let them steal from me, so I could finally walk away without guilt. So when they called it family, I could say, with clean hands and a calm smile, this was business. You know what no one ever tells you? Leaving isn't the hard part. Watching them realize you were the foundation, that's the satisfying part. Once they drained the $360,000, they thought I'd scream,
Cry. Beg.
Instead, I got to work. Operation Extraction had one goal: remove every single link, dollar, document, and obligation that tied me to them. And I started with the most personal one. My name. I legally changed it just the middle and last. Quietly. Efficiently. They wouldn't know until they saw it in a headline or a contract. I updated my legal and business records, pulled my signature off every co-owned item, from the joint safety deposit box to the emergency insurance account I once opened for my dad after his heart scare. All gone. Every time they tried to use something with my name on it, they'd hit a wall. And I didn't stop there. Remember that modest car I bought for the family years ago? The one my mom drove like she owned it? I reported it as reclaimed.
Because it was still legally mine.
And guess what? She'd never transferred the title. Classic oversight. One tow truck later, the car was in my name and back in my garage. I sold it the next week and used the funds to upgrade Ava's school account. Oh, right. Ava. My daughter. Did I mention my parents never once offered to babysit? Never celebrated her birthdays. Never visited her school. And yet, somehow, my mother always found a way to call herself Grandma of the Year on Facebook. So I deleted every photo of Ava from their shared cloud folder. revoked permissions, digitally erased the narrative they never earned. It was surgical. Every time they turned a corner in their life, something was missing. The light bill? Unpaid. The retirement account my dad didn't even realize I was still contributing to? Frozen. The travel credit card my sister used under my name to book hotels?
Closed.
Piece by piece, I dismantled the life they built on top of me. And while they were flailing, I was flying. I moved into a high-rise condo, signed 2 new consulting clients, started planning a retreat for young women like me, the forgotten daughters, the quiet providers, the ones who paid for everyone else's peace. I didn't announce it, didn't flaunt it, because I didn't need them to see me rise. I just needed them to feel the fall. One night, I got a message from my father. "We need to talk. What you're doing is petty and hurtful." It was the first time he'd reached out in weeks. And still, there was no apology. Just blame. Just deflection. So I sent back one line. "You stole a test, not my life. And I've already passed." Then I blocked his number. Because this wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about removal. Removing myself from their chaos. Removing the lies I used to tell myself to survive. Removing the guilt they'd carefully embedded in every thank you they never said. I wasn't leaving angry. I was leaving free. And the family that thought I'd collapse without them? They were finally learning the truth. I wasn't their backup plan. I was their only plan. And I just walked out the front door. It started with a flight. A canceled one. Alina had booked a business class seat to Milan for a networking conference her university recommended, probably more for the selfies than the seminars. She posted the itinerary weeks in advance. Airplane London, Milan, Barcelona. Hashtag Boss Babe in Europe. But when she arrived at Heathrow, she was told the booking was cancelled. Insufficient funds. She called the airline, then the credit card company. She tried to play the part of the wronged elite, but the truth was simpler. I closed the card because it was mine. And for years, she used it with my permission, for emergencies, just this once. "You'll get it back, right?" She never did. So I took it back. And that was just the start. 2 weeks later, her university sent a notice. Tuition installment overdue. She emailed them frantically, attached a screenshot of the payment promise, guaranteed under my name. They replied, "We regret to inform you that your financial guarantor has formally withdrawn responsibility. Please settle the remaining balance within 14 days or your enrollment will be reviewed." I had been her invisible net. Every semester, every fee, every glitch in her student visa, fixed by me, not because I loved her more than she loved me, but because I wanted to believe that if I gave enough, they'd finally see me. They never did. So I stopped giving. Alina messaged me 3 times. Once with fake sweetness. "Hey, can you help? I think something went wrong with the payments." Once with passive aggression. "It's really messed up that you'd sabotage your own sister." And finally, desperation. "They're talking about suspension. I don't have the money. Please, Maya. Please." I didn't reply. Not because I was cruel. Because I was done. I wasn't her invisible donor anymore. I wasn't her faceless fallback. I was the sister she ignored at dinners. The one she rolled her eyes at when I didn't dress trendy. The one she stole from and watched my parents laugh about it like it was a prank. She had posted once, back when she got accepted into her program. All thanks to the support of my amazing parents. Hashtag blessed, hashtag grateful. I was never mentioned. And that's fine. Because now, she could run to them for help. Except their house was on the verge of foreclosure. Their bank account was under investigation. Their network was dried up. And her amazing parents? Busy trying to get the lights turned back on. The golden child wasn't golden anymore. She was just another shadow in a sinking ship. And I was sitting by the window of my new condo, watching the sunset, eating takeout, my phone on silent. I didn't need an update to know how it was going. Because for the first time, their lives were playing out without my money propping them up. And the silence that once haunted me, now it healed me. Because no amount of status, no shiny degree, no pretty pictures in foreign cafes could save her from the fact that her whole world had been financed by the sister she mocked. And that sister just pulled the plug. It started small. A single email. No subject line. Just, "Can we talk?" I didn't open it. Then came the messages. From my mother. "Maya, please. Let's not make this bigger than it needs to be." From my father. "This is beneath you. We're your family." From Alina, full breakdown mode. "They're threatening to kick me out. I didn't know you'd do this.
Please.
Please." Each one more desperate than the last. They didn't realize. I wasn't being cold. I was being clear. They had made a choice. When they took my money and laughed. When they called me naive. When they said I'd waste it anyway. They knew what they were doing. They just didn't think I'd respond like this.
They thought I'd cry.
Instead, I built walls thick, quiet, and unbreakable. They tried calling. From new numbers. Old numbers. Blocked numbers. They tried messaging on platforms I forgot I still had. And I let every single alert flash across my screen. Unread. Unanswered. Until one voicemail broke the pattern. It was my father's voice, but not the version I grew up with. No arrogance. No power. Just collapse. "We didn't think you'd actually cut us off. Your mother's not sleeping. Your sister's losing her place. We're drowning, Maya. We didn't mean for it to go this far." That line. We didn't mean for it to go this far.
It stuck with me.
Because they did. They meant for me to go that far, far enough to lose everything. They just never imagined I'd stop turning around for them. That afternoon, I got a delivery. An envelope. Handwritten. No return address. Inside, a letter, shaky, rushed. From my mother. "You don't have to forgive us. Just help. That's what family does." And taped to the back. A childhood photo of me. 7 years old. Smiling. Missing front teeth. They must have dug it out like a relic, hoping sentiment would do what guilt couldn't. I stared at the picture. That little girl? She deserved love. Deserved protection. Deserved to grow up in a home that didn't label her as less just because she didn't shine the way her sister did.
And now
She was safe. Because I had built a life around her, and for her, that they could never touch again. I took the photo, folded it carefully, and placed it in my drawer. The letter? I burned it. The next morning, I sent them a single message. One line. No hello. No emotion. No wiggle room. Funny how fast the future collapses when it's built on stolen bricks. Then I blocked them. Every single one. No more explanations. No more defense. No more pleading to be seen. I was done. Not angry. Finished. Because the one thing they were never prepared for was the girl they used as their foundation finally walking away and letting the whole damn house fall. They thought they took everything from me. What they actually did was pay for my freedom. Because with every selfish decision, every cruel remark, every dollar they stole, they severed the last threads I was too loyal to cut. So I thanked them.
Silently.
And then I moved forward. The week after I blocked them, I closed on a property in the hills. Quiet. Peaceful.
Mine.
Paid in full. I renovated the guest room into a studio. For writing, dreaming, resting. The walls are lined with books I never had time to read when I was busy funding everyone else's comfort. The kitchen is always stocked. The bills are on autopay for my home. And Ava? She's thriving. She doesn't ask about them anymore. She doesn't flinch when the doorbell rings. Because our home is filled with softness now, not survival. I used a portion of my actual savings, the part they never touched, to launch a mentorship fund for girls like me. First generation. Overlooked. Used as emotional ATMs by the people who were supposed to love them. It's called Daughters Who Stayed. Because we did stay far too long. Now, we build exits. The fund quietly covers tuition, housing, therapy, or whatever peace looks like for the girls who never got to have it. No fanfare. Just healing. Last month, a journalist reached out. Wanted to do a story on my financial journey. Self-made millionaire. Estranged from her family. I declined the interview. Not because I'm ashamed, but because they don't deserve a spotlight. I'm not the girl they forgot anymore. I'm the woman they lost. And the world I built? It's not built on spite. It's built on clarity. They taught me what not to become. And in doing so, they handed me the blueprint for becoming unstoppable. Sometimes I still think about that moment. My father laughing. My mother's smugness. Alina's indifference. I think about how sure they were that I was weak. How proud they were to tell me the money I earned had secured someone else's bright future. And I smile. Because that was the last moment they'd ever feel power over me. Now my power is quiet.
But vast.
It's in the way my phone doesn't light up with demands anymore. It's in the way my bank account only reflects my own needs. It's in Ava's smile. In the stillness. In the enoughness of our days. And that girl, the one they underestimated, she didn't waste anything. She just invested it in the one place they never could control. Herself. They stole a decoy and called it a victory. But I built an empire in silence. And the daughter they erased from the story? She became the one they'll never be able to rewrite.